It's a gavel.
I'm not fearful of a gavel. It's made of wood.
That's,
Are we starting?
order. I don't.
You CSU folks and taking control of meetings, what is it with you guys?
I don't want to be. Yeah, I
Do
don't
you have a copy of the agenda?
No, I don't.
I'll get one for you.
I got Roy.
Does anyone else need a copy of the agenda?
Yeah, just the 218-page.
Yeah,
POA
it's
plan.
actually,
Which is also.
and bylaws.
I think I have
did
that
the
on
bylaws.
DVD
They
also.
were 9 pages.
You guys are creating a new group?
No, these haven't been looked at or amended since '98.
So we have come to order. Do we have? We don't have a quorum, so.
Yeah, quorum is 7 voting members.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was 9. I'm thinking of the Water Quality Control Commission, I think, or something. Okay.
7.
Do we
Not
need to
including
do,
you.
do we need to do introductions?
Why not? Go ahead.
Boyd Hill Security Water Sanitation Districts.
Oh, Ginny Johnson, Colorado Springs Utilities.
Pete Koleski, this place.
Aaron Doucette, El Paso County.
Jim Heckman, Fountain Sanitation, Lower Fountain Metro.
John Chavez, El Paso County Stormwater.
Mike Fink, City of Fountain Water Utility.
Terry Jacobson, Woodman Hills Metropolitan District.
Go ahead.
So maybe I'll just give you items 2, open item 3, and then you can just turn it over to me if you'd like.
Okay.
And I can just, since I thought this up.
I'm going to turn this over to you right now.
Let's do that.
We need
Okay.
A motion? Oh, do we have a
Well-
motion to approve the minutes?
Got to make a motion to approve the minutes?
You were actually here, too.
I don't-
Huh.
Second.
Oh, motion approved.
No,
roll
you
call.
need to take a
Roll
vote.
call, roll call.
All in favor?
All in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
None?
I guess, well, no, if this is Robert Rules of Order, I need to make a have a question. I have no, I'm sorry, but I have no idea why we're following Robert Rules of Orders or what this meeting is. What's this commission? I thought this was just to discuss E. coli.
No,
What's this group I'm sitting in on?
This is the Water Quality Management Committee meeting,
Of PPACG?
PPACG.
You're on the 208 Review Committee.
Okay, I don't even know, does El Paso County,
The doors are locked, you can't leave.
okay, I mean,
No, but El
I'm
Paso
not an
County has
official
been
member
on
of the
yeah.
committee, am I?
El Paso County has been,
Yeah,
Well, then that would be Aaron, the health department, I guess.
stormwater should be here too.
All we're doing today is just, we're going to discuss some items. There's nothing official to vote on,
Okay,
other than the
I don't even know
formality
whether I'm a
of,
valid member or not, that's my point. I
Okay.
just showed up because you invited me, and
Well-
actually you invited my wife, by the way, she forwarded the appointment to me.
okay.
So we need to get me on the list if you want me to continue to come. But maybe after today, you don't want me here anymore, I don't know.
we'll take a vote on that.
Last election will make you chair.
Yeah. Then we're really in trouble.
Don't know what I do.
So I vote yay then, I guess.
Okay,
So the yeas have it.
motion approved?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And that'll be, Bethany, that'll be for the agenda too.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a consent.
And then the same thing for the minutes.
No, it's all.
And we just did it.
We did the minutes.
That's everything.
Yeah,
The
we
agenda
did the
and the
consent.
minutes.
Yeah.
Item number 2 has been approved.
Okay.
Are there any public comments?
Okay.
You could be the public, John.
Wow. Apparently I'm official on the committee.
You are official.
Whenever you're ready for me to lead off,
You can go.
I will take it. Thank you, Madam Chair, and then person. Thank you all for coming. Weather's lousy. Do I need this thing? It's right before Thanksgiving, and it's generous of you to come out, take your time. I personally appreciate it. Today, we don't have anything to vote on, at least not any regulatory application or wastewater application or anything like that. But there's some, I wanted to begin a discussion about a few items, and this is the beginning. So this meeting need not go long. We might be out of here by 2 o'clock. We could be as long as we need, but that would be fine. So we had our first meeting 2 or 3 months ago. As you know, there was a quiet period of many months, but I think even in the last year or so of my predecessor, Rich, there weren't very many applications, following the downturn of 2008, 2010, and so forth. So my understanding from all of you is that you didn't meet with normal regularity. And then when I came on, there were several months. I waited until we had really a reason to meet. I wanted to see how things go. And I want to thank all of you participated on one or both reviews for two projects. One is the YMCA wastewater treatment plant upgrade replacement in Park County, and the other is the Academy wastewater lift station to replace their presently operating wastewater treatment plant. And I'm grateful and pleased the quality and level of professionalism commitment really spoke to me. So thank you all for that. PPACG doesn't presently have any new applications on our plate. So I think this is a good time to close out the year. I don't know that we have a reason to meet in December. We'll probably won't. But the first thing I wanted to discuss is membership. The roster that I have, I culled from a list I got from my predecessor, and I sent around a questionnaire to, I think most of you got it. Many of you responded and said, so-and-so's retired, so-and-so's gone, took another job, whatever. And so I culled it down to the email list that you have in my announcements. I'm going to spin that out to you. I'll put it in another list again, like an Excel spreadsheet. And what I'm fishing for are who's not in this committee that could be or should be. Who are we missing? And I think there are a handful of wastewater districts, wastewater districts in our service area, El Paso, Teller, and Park counties, that there's an opportunity to enlarge the group a bit.
When I first started coming, JP, 11 years ago, we almost met monthly. I think Roy and Jimmy, you remember, Ginny, you remember that. There were that many items of business.
Yes.
And we had a very good representation from municipalities in the wastewater districts.
Yes.
So,
Woodland Park, Manitou Springs, I mean, those folks were at the table back then, and, everybody, really.
yeah.
What was driving all the activity? Was it?
Well, there were a lot of applications.
Okay.
There were new plants coming on. There were consolidations of existing districts' wastewater treatment facilities. There was a lot of work on the plants out at Fort Carson at the time.
Yes. So there was a lot of activity that was driving this, just activity on the ground.
I remember going through the last 208 plan and reviewing that and all that stuff, but
Okay.
I mean, we're a recommending body to the board anyways.
Right. Right.
But we also used to cover other things,
We
other
did.
issues and things
Okay.
that we now kind of cover in AppCure.
Yep.
And
You're right.
we sort of stopped doing the water quality management meetings because of AppCure, because that was sort of,
Right.
I
That took
was
the
kinda
that
overlapped
focus.
anyway.
yeah, kind of changed the focus. And then I think Rich's intent was to do this committee when we needed to, on an as-needed basis.
Okay.
So let's say that. But, I mean, the 208 plan is something different.
Right.
It's still going to be, most of the members of AppCure will want to have
Right.
input on that. The county, probably stormwater.
Okay.
I mean, that's a big project. A lot of folks will be involved in that, so
Well,
we'll have update. Anyway,
So-
so that's kind of what happened when we stopped meeting regularly.
so if I send out membership lists to you folks, could you in some weeks or so, just give me some names? Who do you know that we should invite to this?
Sure. I mean, between the members of the lower, there's three times as many people that should be here from the lower fountain.
Okay. Because you're going to know these folks. I'm still relatively new to this, so you know the players.
Cherokee Metro, Woodland Hills,
Yeah.
Fort Carson.
Then get to the uppers, and easily a dozen up there.
Okay, okay. Anybody, any other thoughts or comments on the membership?
We still, every year, go through the membership lists at Fountain Utilities of who represents our utilities to different organizations, and we also assign a or an alternate. If I'm not here, Ron will be here. So, we feel it's that important,
Well, thank you.
so.
Well, related to that, this group needs to have officers, a chair, vice chair, secretary. Mike?
Yeah, I think it was Mike Wicklund was the president and Jenny was the vice chair. I don't remember, I remember nominating you. So I don't
you the-
remember who,
You-
we have like a secretary? I don't remember that.
Well, Rich basically functions.
Yeah,
as a
Rich
secretary.
or Pete would be doing
First
that.
vice and the second vice.
Mhm.
That's probably in the bylaws, but I'm guessing.
So we can do
Are
that.
they, are they in the bylaws on what we had, the positions? Do we need a secretary?
It talks about the duties of the chairperson,
Then we had a vice chair and a.
selection of officers.
Term of service is a year.
No more than 2 consecutive.
Secretarial duties are on bottom of
Chairperson,
7.
vice chairperson, and second vice chairperson.
Ah, okay.
Page 4.
I see, yeah, they've got it split up that way.
So do you know who our second vice chairperson is?
I think it was. Was it Roy or? It was either me or Roy. I honestly believe
That's
that.
probably Jim.
Well, I mean, back
I was at that
back
meeting,
then.
So I couldn't have been nominated.
Yes, you were.
Well,
So, I mean, I know I was way down there. I can't promise to do the chair thing, so.
could we think about, say, a January meeting, and between now and then,
Jerry wants to do
if we could gin up some, if you all could gin up some names for me,
it. You want to do
and I'll send emails and call these folks and say,
I'll be attending that meeting to make sure I nominate somebody.
Yes. So let's think about officers again, and,
it. You put that on the agenda, I guarantee you'll get a crowd.
So you did indicate, though, you will send out a list of the
Yes.
current list of
Yes.
whatever you have as members
The
now?
ones that didn't bounce back to you.
Yeah.
yes. Yes. So I'll send that, I sent that out a few months ago, several months ago, a bunch of you responded. So, and I culled it down from that, so I'll send what I have out tomorrow. We'll go out tomorrow. And then in the next couple of weeks or so, if you all could look at it and say, well, how about so-and-so from Cherokee or so-and-so from Manitou? If you can give me a real contact name, if you have their email address, great. If not, I'll find it. But that would help me.
You may want to mention it just as a staff report to PPACG, that all PPACG members and entities are eligible
Yes.
to have representation on this.
Yes. So it's right. So it's not just the water.
No, we don't have a wastewater utility in Fountain. We have districts that
Right.
are not part of the city. So.
Right, I understand.
Yeah, I was reading that too to make sure whether I should be here or not, because the very first thing, member entities, comma, special districts
Right.
providing wastewater.
Thank you.
So, but please do double check your email distribution. It did go to Victoria Chavez, and then she
Yes.
forwarded this meeting announcement on to me.
Ah, yeah.
So,
So I should.
I'm not getting any emails from you, Pete.
The wife is. What's up with that?
I'm not asking, I'm not going there,
No worries.
professional.
That's a mistake. Sorry about that.
But no, we've got it covered. See, the good news is we still get there, but,
To-
Yeah, we almost always had representatives from all of the military installations as well.
yeah.
You're right.
Okay. So what I'm learning and what I'm hearing and living is that AFCURE has taken a big chunk of what this committee used to do, and that's fine. So there's no reason to have meetings. I get that. Nevertheless, this committee does serve an important function that's mandated by state law, and it's a good service to all our, to the region. So I want to tighten it up and make it work, so.
And I think Rich even tried to hold this meeting before the after meetings, and it kind of just got balled
Yeah.
together and,
We would meet at 1, and then AFCure would meet at 1:30.
yeah, or something like that. It was just, but a big item like the 208, that would take a lot of
Yeah.
this time.
Sort of an overlapping project, but it's definitely a project for this.
Yes.
So, well, let's talk about that next.
Sorry about that, Pete.
No, I'm hearing it twice. That's the elephant.
Big thing.
That's the elephant on this agenda. Obviously, I wasn't here when the present update to the 2.0 plan was written. I assume, I hope, I ask, I'm begging, that this is not something that would rest on my shoulders, except that I would be a facilitator and a contributor. There would be contributions from the committee.
Yes.
Right, then it's a group effort.
Yeah, it is a group effort.
Okay,
Definitely.
it's a big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, given that our present 208 plan has some age on it, I think it was updated in 2010, we're going into 2007. It's probably time to dust that off and look at it in light of new regs, new developments.
Sadly enough, I remember the 208 from 2003 before that one.
Thoughts, discussion on,
So it's about the same time frame. Roy, don't quit laughing, you were there too.
You may be old, but you got a better memory than I do.
We've all kind of grown up together.
Yeah.
Yeah, grown-ups kind of stretch.
About the same time frame. So yeah, I think
Yeah. Well, I
probably,
don't remember, do you remember if it was a pressure from the state on Rich to start
yes,
redoing it?
yeah.
It seemed to me like there was some external pressure from CDPAG to
Get that up.
update it.
this was the present
The
update.
208 plan.
The one that was adopted in 2010.
Okay, but we don't need to wait for that, right?
No, we don't.
Especially in light of all the work that AFCure is doing. This might be a good time to put our heads together.
Right. And that actually might be a good place and time to bring it forward again. I mean, because you will have almost everybody in the room in after meeting. So
Right.
you might want to tag it on at the beginning or the end.
Or have some joint meetings.
Right. And because if you've got them all in the room, and
Right.
that's where we're talking about all the issues that need to be addressed in the 208 plan.
Just
John?
by way of, help me get up to speed, what is the 208 plan?
Section 208 of Public Law 92-500, which is the Clean Water Act.
Okay, so that tells me nothing other
It's-
than you've
it's,
got to get a reference to the Clean Water Act
It's,
and then
it's,
it's about.
it's really a watershed management.
Is it a watershed management plan then, basically?
It really is.
So let me just ask then the question, is it germane today, or is it needed today in light of the Fountain Creek Watershed Plan, the Monument Creek Watershed Plan that's all being done by the district?
Those plans do not address wastewater treatment
Ah.
plants.
Okay.
This does. This is the
I'm asking
biggest
you.
element of
So
that
that's
208 plan.
that's the primary subject focus of this plan is
It's not the
wastewater
only, but
district.
it's the biggest part of
Yeah,
it.
it is a
Primary.
big part of
Okay,
it.
got it, I understand. I'm just trying to come up to speed.
But given that all these other plans are in the works,
That's why I asked the question, but if
Good
it's
question.
germane to wastewater treatment, that's different. All those others are non-point source
I
plans.
think it's a requirement though, isn't
It
it?
is.
Oh, it is of the district,
Yeah.
of PPACG?
No, of, the COGS are
Of the council of
responsible
Yeah.
for
The
implementing
board,
that.
yeah.
Okay.
Water quality management
You're the,
plans.
you don't have to raise your hand. You're the
Boss.
chair.
you're the boss.
The water quality management plans, 208 plans, describe and promote efficient and comprehensive programs for controlling water pollution from point and non-point sources in a defined geographic area. These area-wide agencies prepare and approve the 208 plan in their counties. So
Right.
it's not just wastewater point sources.
So having not read it, though, if it needs to be revised, it sounds like it's 10 years old.
It's getting there.
It's getting there, so, okay.
And it takes time to do it.
It'll take
Right.
a while to do it.
In light of the other two non-point source plans, then it can take a narrower focus, then it sounds like to me, I mean, or incorporate by reference.
Yes, and,
Do you have a hard
Yes.
copy of one? Pete?
I think we spent a couple of years on it last.
no.
Well, that's why I'm wondering if we could cut off half that time by incorporation by reference of the other non-point plans.
I do on my shelf, yes, I do.
Yeah. I
There
mean,
it is, I can send it to you if you want.
I've never seen it.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
You've got it here, so. A question, the last time that this was updated, how long did it take? Is it a year?
Couple of years.
Couple of years.
2 years. So if we're going to do it,
Yes,
we should begin.
yeah.
And especially in light of, as John was saying, the work that AFCure is doing, this watershed management plan focusing on E. coli, there's a lot of synergy. This is the time to do it.
It covers a lot of ground.
Yeah, I can see it. Wow, Chico too, huh? Okay. So it's the whole, the plan is to cover the whole service area of PPACG, which would include Teller,
Yes,
Park,
El Paso County.
yes.
no Pueblo.
No.
I don't think,
They
I
have-
mean, it goes down to the confluence, but
Right, but
So which is-
Pueblo has their own
they have their own.
They have their own cod.
ACOG, yeah, which it was really defunct for a long, long time, and they really just recently redid their 208 plan, I think, because of
External pressure.
SDS. And color upgrade.
Okay.
Because they were having to approve a site application, but I thought that was for Pueblo wastewater. But they just hadn't updated their plan in so long that the state was like.
It's that 45,000 acre community or something right there, is why they had to update
Yeah,
it.
Okay.
Oh, the new one they're proposing?
Yeah, that huge.
Pueblo East?
that's right.
That's right, that's why. That's why.
It's west, it's east of Pueblo West.
Right.
Well, the last time this was done, was this all done by volunteer labor? Or were,
No, it was.
did you hire a consultant to help with this?
No, really.
Was Rich?
That part was on Rich, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it was a lot of input from all the entities,
Yes,
but Rich was the circus master.
I got it.
And really what he did was, I mean, I had just started in my position and I didn't know what I was doing until like last week. But he would send out the pieces.
The sections
that
related to
applied
it,
each
yep.
entity, and
Yep.
we basically just updated them. I mean, it can be a lot, but it's also,
Okay.
you know,
Here's your
your
section.
stuff, is it still true? And
If not, update it, yeah.
you kind of just update it. So it's a lot of outreach and coordination.
Would there,
Yeah.
just putting this out there,
But if there's stuff that has changed, like in the regulatory side, that you may not be familiar with.
I can guarantee I won't be familiar with it.
There's not as much, I mean, one of the big decisional points before the adoption of this was the dueling sewage plants in the lower fountain. And that was settled before the revision of the 208 was voted upon. But that was a 2.5-year process.
Brain damage and a lot of money,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well-
CSU and the big gorilla.
Given, well, just throwing this out there, and money does not grow on trees, I know. But if we agree, and I think probably a vote has to be taken on this, you know, we're just teeing it off today, kicking it around. This is a very informal first discussion. So if the committee decides, okay, we're going to launch on this, at some point, would it be cost-effective to hire a consultant that's good at this and can assist with some part of this? Not to totally outsource it and dump it on them and have them do our work, but somebody that can guide us and has present state-of-the-art, current knowledge of all the regulations, and what's coming down the pike as well. Just a thought.
I think that, Pete, the difference between the PPACG staffing level now and what it was 8 years ago
Yes.
is, I think you're running at about 50% of the personnel that you had at that time. I think that Rich had more people
Okay.
internally, not just administrative assistants, but actual professionals that could help him.
Right.
Do you recall that was the case at the time, Jimmy? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
there were professionals, Rich Normandy worked here and a couple other guys,
Yeah, so I don't know what resources you would need to do that, but I don't remember us pitching in money,
No.
so to speak, to do that.
Yeah, but just think,
At your budget level.
There was a larger staff here at that time.
yeah, you're looking at the environmental staff right now.
You're it?
I'm
You
afraid
have
so.
no staff underneath you?
I'm it.
Wow.
So when there's a problem in my department, it's pretty easy. to
Pretty much
figure.
your problem.
It's me.
I know how that feels.
So just to be thinking just be thinking about that as this develops, and if the committee decides we want to pursue this, then I'm going to go to Salvation Army and get a hat
Let's just see, where's the money going to come from?
and pass that hat around. So just be thinking about that a little bit. And we might be thinking, if we do retain a consultant or consulting firm, their scope in the big picture of things and the level of how much money we would have to pay that person.
Pete, there's also an opportunity to look to the Department of Local Affairs.
Right.
For an opportunity for funding,
Yes,
for things like this.
I would definitely want to pursue that and would welcome your advice and help in that. Yes. My gut feeling is, especially with this group just coming back out of the weeds, so to speak, the swamp, out of the bioprocessors of life, that it will take a bit of time for us to get our arms around, and that'd be a lot of triage on a lot of my shoulders, happy to do it, to kind of tee this up and let's frame the discussion, to scope it. What is this going to entail? The last thing I would want to do, in the happy event that each of you came with a briefcase full of money and said, just hire somebody. Well, no. Let's scope it really well and make sure that we have a good group understanding of what the task is before us and how long it's going to take, whether we hire somebody or not. And then it's probably going to take a little while, a few months, a few meetings, because not everybody makes every meeting. So anyway, that's kind of what I'm thinking. I would like to think by the end of first quarter of 2017, we have our arms around this a bit, say, okay, we think we know where this is going to go, and then begin to go down the path. And I have a feeling if it took a couple years to do this in 2010, probably going to do that again. But if we have a consultant to help us with this that's really sharp and on the money and can make that go efficiently, that might be cut down a bit. So, but it's a year and a half to two. So that's what I'm thinking.
There's an opportunity. It could actually be, believe it or not, it could be a more simple document than the one before, because there's several consolidations that have happened since then.
Yes.
That districts no longer maintain point sources, and they've consolidated, like Colorado Center with Lower Fountain.
Yes.
You know,
And academies about to
exactly,
go.
yeah, Academy with the pumping over the ridge.
And I tend to agree with Mike here, because then on the non-point source, where there's a couple of chapters, I think you can incorporate by reference the other plans and not
Yes.
create those wheels.
Oh, yeah.
So here's a fundamental question I had, because this came up when we were revising our engineering criteria manual, and that's the starting document. So what sort of a document template do you have to work from? Did somebody leave you a real nice Word version of this document sitting back somewhere where it's well organized, and you can go in and just start cutting it apart and sending it out and bringing it back in, no problem?
I think so.
Well,
I mean, you can,
Unfortunately, that's what ends up screwing up a lot of these updates, is people put in all kinds of formatting, and you get a document, you can't figure out what to do with it.
well,
And you need a consultant to come in and rewrite the whole thing.
I think it's, PDF, and
But there's a source document that's,
we've got it. We've got it in Word. But I'm going to make the case for
A consultant.
every day's a new day. Start with this. I think enough has happened and is happening and is going to happen from a regulatory framework that the last thing I want to do is just get out a red pen and update something. It needs to be crisp and fresh.
We want a whole new plan.
Start from this. That's my bias, but I'm a non-voting member. I'm just the PPACG guy.
I haven't looked at it, so I can't give you an
You'll
opinion.
have it by the end of the day.
You will. We'll get you in on this.
283 pages?
218.
I'll get to it I'll get to it through Thanksgiving, but I'll tell you what, if it looks to me like it's pretty much send out chapters to I'll be advocating do it ourselves.
I think that's what we did last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to spend money on contractors for to revise a document, because you're spending 50 grand on something you could hire an AA for a year for $15,000 to do. That's just my 2 cents. So, and I have time. I can write if I need to write something.
John, you never give 2 cents, you give $2.
Damn right.
There you go. Well,
But he's right. I agree with his $2.
we
I
will.
do too. I think it's, I mean, we don't have to have anything new and fancy, and I think this really has a lot of the basic
It does.
basis and the groundwork and
I think it's a good plan, it just needs to be refreshed.
fresh.
Well,
Maybe worse than anything, but we've all done some upgrades to our facilities or are in the middle of it, or
A lot
plans
of,
for
you
the
know,
future and.
Populations and all that are way outdated and stuff like that, so, you know.
That's what's going to take information that we can't provide.
Right.
very good.
Yeah, I think Rich got a lot of that, like population.
Yeah,
demographics stuff in for-
we have that
Yeah, that's.
It was
in-house.
follow the format, I mean, it had the approval of the governor,
Yeah,
so.
I understand. I understand we don't want to lose information. That's my bias. I'm a non-voting member. I like a pen and a blank sheet of paper. Not everybody does. That's okay. Or a typewriter and a blank screen. Okay. Any other?
I have no problem with the boiler or plagiarism.
No.
Yeah. As long as it's current and good. Right. But that's the purpose of an update, is to make it that. And new pictures.
Yeah.
Any, do I still have the floor? Madam Chair?
Pete, one item on membership.
Yes.
Kent Smith is with Teller County,
Ken Smith.
and I graduated to El Paso County.
Graduated.
Well,
Actually, you actually came down the hill just for clarification.
Aaron, if you'd have known what was in front of you,
We stayed on the high mountain.
Very good. I will look him up. Any other thoughts or discussion on the 208 plan?
No, but I think it was good for you to bring it up, for sure.
yeah.
Okay. I think it'll be like making, pizza sauce from scratch. It's just as elegant and beautiful. But at the end of the day, when it's served, hopefully it'll be nice. I make a lot of red sauce, and it's fun. You don't always want to watch it. My kids never know what's going to be in it. It's never the same, except it's always hot. And I want this to have a zing to it. I want it to be excellent. I want it to be really, really good, and I know you do too. Well, we'll find a way. All right. Not being a prisoner to protocol or order, I'm going to hold off on item 5 for the moment, since I still have the chair. And this should be simpler. Discuss the bylaws for this committee and possible changes. I'd like to I'll spin these out to everybody well before our next meeting, again, probably in January. And I'll have a few items that I'll offer a few items to discuss, and I'll solicit input from each of you. Say, what do you see in this that might be improved or could be improved, made better? And of course, whatever this committee does has to be consistent with the 208 plan, but it will. But how can we do our mission? I mean, do these bylaws, how do we make sure they're relevant and current? One thing that I have, one item, not the only one, we have a subcommittee called the SARC, the Site Application Review Committee, that has recommended, it doesn't have any authority per se, but it does the first review of projects before it comes to our committee.
Right.
And I am wondering if that can be done a bit differently. I don't have details today, but I just want to put it out there. Because I'm thinking, just within the PPACG 208 process, all the hurdles and hurdles are potentially a good thing, because they're opportunities to review and get counsel, but we have to get the engineer in typically to come to the SARC meeting and then this meeting.
And prior to that, to
Management
like the lower or the upper.
Yeah, the Management Association meeting. And then the Community Advisory Committee, and then finally the board. That's a lot. And then, as you say, that Water Quality Management Association before all of this. And then they have other reviews, all the way up to and including CDPHE. The review is good. It's good to get the word out there so, we don't repeat things that happened a long time ago, and we're not because of such things. But could we, for example, could the SARC function as kind of an advanced SWAT team rather than having a meeting? Maybe we require of the applicant package this well so that the SARC can review it, and they tee up the ball for us. So they review it, however many are on the SARC, say half a dozen or 10, and they do their first take on it, and don't necessarily need to meet, don't necessarily bring in the engineer. They do a desktop review, their thoughts on it, give their thoughts to the engineer and said, this is what we see. When you come to the WQMC, come prepared. And they might get back and forth with the head of the SARC and say, okay, we'll clean this up and address this and this and this. So there can be a little bit of back and forth so that by the time the engineer comes here, he or she is pretty sharp. So
Well,
that just one
The
thing.
way I remember, when we had a lot of applications, the SARC basically did what you said.
Okay.
They took care of all the technical stuff, all the concerns and the questions and all that. And then when it came to us, basically, we looked at the SARC, is everything good? SARC says yes, then we kind of just approve it and go on.
Okay.
So it was really just, it's like the Planning Commission and City Council.
Okay.
Planning Commission takes care of all of it and then goes to City Council and gets recommended. And I think it worked the same way for us.
Well, I guess I would say of all the groups that you mentioned, Pete, that the application goes through, I think the SARC gave it the most rigorous and.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you had your technical folks
Yeah,
there.
I relied on it heavily, and I
Me
guess
too.
before I made a decision, or before I even had input as to whether or not a change should be made, I would talk to people who have been on the SARC.
Right.
Right.
But I rely on them heavily, because
Yep.
I don't have that for that.
Okay. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Do you have the original document which identifies the purpose, charge, objectives, relationships, memberships, officers, requirements for minutes, in terms of the SARC subcommittee? 'Cause according to the bylaws, when that SARC was created, all of that should have been laid out and approved, submitted to and approved by the board of directors.
I've never seen them.
I'm looking for it.
My point being is.
That's the honest
Good
answer.
place to-
That's the honest answer.
Okay, I mean, the good.
Right.
Start off the
So-
date.
Yeah, this group, these groups have long histories that, decades ago. So I'm looking for it.
So it sounds like there's definitely, I wouldn't call it a consensus, but there's certainly an interest in keeping that technical review
Yes.
committee alive and
It-
going.
yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
But how does it function?
Well, we can redefine it, it sounds like. If you don't find the document, it sounds like we can redefine it for
Yes.
2016.
We can. Here's what I see. An applicant coming to the the appropriate Water Quality Management Association, coming to the SARC, coming here, and they're talking to the same people.
That would have been the case,
The same people.
But it was not to rehash, the items that came up in the SARC. They would come to us for the final recommendation to the board, and it would be any little, I don't know, I can't even think of an example
Okay.
right now, but little things.
At that point, they would say, SARC recommended X, we took that, we made these changes.
Okay?
You mentioned the SARC being 8 to 10 people. I thought it was more like 3 to 5. maybe.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Well, we've got it up. We've added a few people.
Well, and
Just now.
I don't know, as long as they're very technical people,
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's okay, but to me, the SARC is a pretty small group.
Okay,
But you did get people that have more technical.
yes. And I don't discount just the value of reading a document carefully. For grammar, that's a good thing. But does it make sense? Because a lot of times engineers don't write very well, and they don't say what they mean to say. And so just a common sense, high-level view, what does this document say, is
I mean, even.
valuable.
They were looking at the things like even on the Reg 22 application, make sure everything lined up. That was the SARC, not us, but,
Okay.
They,
All right.
They were just everything.
So wherever this is going to go, I'm just throwing this out there. I'm coming right now to a deeper appreciation of what the role of the SARC has been and what it should
We
be.
relied on them.
Okay. To be discussed further. And, all right. So just like this committee, I'm asking for your help to beef it up. Also with the SARC, we've got a few new members. What is their skill set? Who do we need? Is there anybody on there that may not be on it very long, Hopefully nobody wants to leave, but I want to make sure we have enough balanced talent on that SARC to serve its function adequately. Very good.
Maybe when you send out your list, you can highlight or separate list or
Yes.
asterisk the ones on the SARC.
I'm going to do both. It'll be the same email. So this is what I'm batting around. Please help me with this, with these. Okay?
So here's a question I have then about that SARC,
Yes.
and just having read the bylaws now. Would there be an interest in, or do you think it's a good idea to maybe, if the SARC is the only subcommittee that has been approved by the PPACG, would it be wise to roll AFCURE into a subcommittee of this commission? Since what I heard earlier was this commission kind of morphed into AFCURE, and it's kind of overtaken this commission. AFCURE's overtaken this commission, but I'm just asking for discussion purposes, does it make sense that AFCURE is a subcommittee of the water quality of this committee?
Water quality management committee.
Yeah.
I don't know how that works.
It's got a different and overlapping mission, vision, and goals.
Does it?
Yeah,
Well,
I
there
don't-
was already a subcommittee of Pikes Peak Regional Water.
Water
Okay.
authority.
Yeah.
So, okay. I just didn't know how it fit into the umbrella, so thank you, Roy, for
Well,
clarifying
but
that.
perhaps if they're not, I'm trying to streamline if I can. I'm not trying to add layers.
And I
Maybe
wasn't
it doesn't
thinking about-
hurt to give them, it doesn't hurt, maybe the SARC will want to do its review and send a copy to AFCURE and say, we welcome your comments if you care to offer them. I don't know.
I don't think that AFCURE is looking at, Roy's expansion on his plant and really, wanting
That's
to-
more of a regulatory planning group than it is a technical advisory group.
And then,
Oh, it's also an
sort of
advocacy
like
group.
the Colorado
Yeah.
Water
Yeah, it very much
Framework,
is.
where we're all working together to implement regulations and understand how they affect us and how best to comply with regulations, water quality reg.
Well, it sounds to me like AFCURE split off from here. Be nice if we had some access to them, to somebody from AFCURE who's deep into it. Maybe we do. Maybe we already do. And you.
I mean, I see that, Pete. That's why I asked the question, because if you've got this SARC, which is very technical, and you want to look at engineering plans of, of a facility review or a facility design,
Right.
that's entirely different and very complementary, I think, relative to committee structure to a regulatory oversight, regulatory planning committee. So, to me, again, my $2 worth, it seems like if after we're part of this, it would really be a good, you'd have two solid committees, regulatory and technical, under the water quality,
Let's-
under the water quality management committee. We've got a technical aspect and a regulatory aspect. But,
We can kick these around. These are good thoughts.
just thoughts, because it's already under the, as Roy indicated, it's already under the umbrella, so does it need to be, does it have to have two arms up? I don't know.
Yeah, whose talent are we needing but missing in this process? You know?
Well, I'm looking at it differently. Where does AFCURE serve a greater role? Does it support the greater PPACG mission, or would it support a greater role in the Water Quality Management Commission aspect? That's just the way I'm looking at it.
Well, I mean, the AFCURE has, members from Pueblo County, Pueblo West, or, it goes beyond the cog here.
It's not tied to the statutory
Boundaries.
structure of the COG.
No.
Okay. Another good reason why to keep it separate then.
Yeah, I was just trying to think of how it would work, but I don't know that it would.
Because, yeah.
It's a good thought, though. I mean, as far as the people on it, you have a lot of the same people anyway, but.
Yeah.
But as we develop this 208 plan update, we don't want to do it in a vacuum without AFCURE people contributing, right? So,
Oh, yeah, and all the little pieces of the 208
Yeah.
plan, kind of go out
to them.
to everybody who's.
I think of the 9 members, of the 11 members in AFCURE, 9 of them are going to have input to this 208.
Okay. Well, very good.
And we did talk about, in the last AFCURE meeting, we talked about becoming a 501c3.
Yep.
AFCURE becoming that? Okay.
Because Roy's got his hands full.
Well, that goes to the advocacy
Spreadsheets or
part of
something.
AFCURE.
I love the spreadsheets, if I had time to do them.
Yeah. But, no, and I mean, I think it's really interesting. I don't know that much about being a nonprofit, but Carol Carius came to talk to us. She's so smart. She just knows everything about that. And, I guess I don't know. There's some costs associated with going either way. And I think we're going to look a little more closely at those costs, but,
Because when we went under the Water Authority, it was, I guess, our kickstart. It was never intended to be forever, and
right.
we're overwhelming some of the Water Authority's tasks or duties or whatever. And we're becoming a burden.
Well, so just very briefly, the Water Authority met last Friday and is going to bring a proposal back to AFCURE to essentially hire somebody to do the.
To be the association manager.
Right, yeah, and primarily that would, the primary reason for that is just the level of work involved in AFCURE.
Sure.
So I'm not sure it matters what the organization is, whether it's the authority or a 501. I don't know if that's really the issue. It's just
The work.
getting somebody to do the work.
Yep.
There was a resource need that needed to be identified and figured out.
And the demands to satisfying that responsibility exceeded the excess time that we all had.
So anyway, that's kind of, that process is going to take certainly a couple months to get the information and to convey it and to have people decide which way to go.
You're still assuming that, at least I am too, as far as AFCURE, it's going to be kind of status quo with the authority through most of next year until we can get it all
I
ironed
think it
out.
has to be. I think it's going to be hard to
To try to switch gears now, yeah.
Yeah. But again, really, well, and I don't want to belabor it because it's a different meeting, but the thing that Carol mentioned was the access to grants through a 501. I'm not sure that's any different for the authority. So I'm not real sure what the advantage would be. The authority gets grants.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, but that's a different meeting. Sorry. Pete.
That's all right. It's all good.
Yeah, you had to leave early, but we talked about it right after you left.
Yes, yes. Okay, any more on this till next time?
No?
Do I still have the floor, Madam Chair?
You have the floor as long as you want, until you tell me.
Did you hear that, Bethany? I have the floor as long as I Bethany's trying to teach me Robert's rules. And,
Oh, I guess I should
oh, gosh. See?
I
See,
didn't
it's
even
not
know
just me.
I read it.
I think that Larry Bishop,
We should have, for this group, it should be a plunger. The water.
Yeah, exactly.
That, you know what? Never mind.
Strike that.
Maybe a little
Heavy duty
No. You need a big one. Yeah, for this group. That's a joke. Okay, I don't want to keep us here till New Year's. Just real quick, unless, and I'll duck if you start shooting at me. Should this group have a role whatsoever in following, tracking, in any way being involved with the PFC, PFOA?
other than the
PFC
three of
issue?
us at this table, I think you should run like the wind.
Stay away from it.
Believe me. No, I mean,
Was that an option?
no, not for you, me, and Roy. I mean, there's positive things that have happened, Pete, as part of this, and one of the biggest positives is that about every 5 or 6 weeks, we meet with the very top level of the drinking water regulators and scientists in the state.
Yes.
And they come down here and meet with us. It's
And federal. It's
and EPA as well.
EPA, CPHE,
Yeah.
USDA.
We're very pleased with their level of involvement and guidance and support. And they've dragged several members of the military kicking and screaming into the room too. Still trying to get them to smile. But emerging contaminants are just, this is not the last. I almost cut myself shaving a month ago when I was listening to NPR in the morning, and I heard him talk about chromium-6 as the next one, and then bang, it was on the front page of the Wall Street Journal the next week. Another one that's measured in parts per trillion. Another one that hasn't had a lot of study, but scares the bejesus out of all of our customers.
Well, and all the pharmaceuticals, legal and illegal, you know?
Having come from Indianapolis, Chrome 6 is old news.
Yeah.
PFOAs is new news to me.
But if you're from Atlanta, it'd be the other way around.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, the
So-
Chrome 6 thing, I mean, that's got its,
Car plating.
its time in the light with Aaron Brockovich out of California and all
Yeah.
that stuff, too. But right now, we're under what's called the UCMR, Unregulated Monitoring Contaminant Rule 3, and UCMR 4 is coming out here soon. That's got a whole other host of items on it. A lot of them are pesticides and things like that, so.
And many of them have no established health advisory limits yet.
Right.
But those are very ephemeral, which we found out in May, that a stroke of a bureaucrat's pen in Washington can make everything,
Different.
non-compliant. Well, not non-compliant. What's the right term, Aaron?
Great level of concern. I don't
Yeah,
Yeah.
it brings it to the forefront.
yeah, they dropped it by a factor of 10.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, this group, and this is related to revising our 208 plan. And it's also consistent with PPACG's mission to serve the region with regional issues. Well, in the water quality world, that's what this group does. This is a regional issue. It's involving multiple jurisdictions. Now, fools rush in where angels fear to tread. I get that. And this is, I understand the military pretty much owns this. I get that, and I respect that. I respect their prerogatives and responsibilities and all of that. But is there a place for a regional forum on those kinds of issues? Not just PFOAs, but other things. Just want to throw it out there. Because otherwise, where is one place where the citizenry can go to learn, to have input and get information that's been vetted and QA, QC'd, it's good information, it's ready for prime time. In the technical sense, I don't mean that politically, I mean that technically. This is good information, it's time to put it out in one place. Because the alternative is the public gets its information from the Gazette and Facebook.
Well,
And the Gazette often does it. and
yeah,
the
Pete,
health
the other thing is, we've gone, in the three of us plus the state and the EPA have gone into this in a lot of depth so that we're all singing from the same hymnal.
Okay.
So his website says the same thing, my website says the same thing, his website says the same thing, that, that Whitefield's does, and it all interlinks, and we're saying the same thing, so that the when the public jumps on El Paso County Health's website, they read the same thing as when they jump on Fountain Utilities' website.
How would you see our role? I guess I'm not seeing it from this body's perspective.
I'm asking. I'm asking.
Has PPACG been contacted about the issue?
A few citizens, yes. I get phone calls, and folks want me to get. They send me big lists, like 20 things they want, and they send me gigabytes of stuff I'm supposed to read. And God bless these folks. I do the best I can to give them current information and steer them. But
I mean, we've had the chief drinking water officer of the state, we've had the chief toxicologist of the state involved in these meetings face-to-face. And many of the same people that were the rapid response team to the Animas River a year ago are involved with this. And those are, the organization that has formed around this was not really formed as an organization. It was coming together as a direct response.
What was the time frame of the PFC contamination in relation to that Flint, Michigan thing?
Flint was last fall.
Yeah, but
Yeah, but when did the PFC thing come about?
The article in the New York Times was mid-January this year, and then Mr. Hazelhurst picked it up a week later.
January 14th.
I'm just thinking,
Yeah,
I remember
plus or
that.
minus, huh?
No.
Exactly.
Exactly.
At 5:43 in the
I'm just thinking the
PM.
flap that the Flint, Michigan thing caused, maybe,
It colors the water. I mean,
well, it makes it so that they are paying close attention to your situation because they don't want it to get blown up.
Right.
Well, maybe to your point, Pete, as far as if you are being asked or given information or pinged at all, simply directing them to like my website
I'd be happy to do that.
would be, because again, like Mike said, I mean, that's been filtered and
Okay.
discussed and chewed on quite a bit. So,
Okay.
here's my 2 cents, my $2, according to Jim Heckman. Relative to individual sites of contamination, I don't think PPACG should, or this committee should roll into it. However, relative to larger water quality issues like TMDLs, nutrient regulations coming down the pike, coming out, the bigger picture that's going to affect everybody, that's not specific to a location or a facility, I think that this commission could roll itself similar to like what the MPO does on Clean Air Act and ozone outreach, and so kind of take on an advocacy role, a public information role, but not for fires, and I use the term fire as in
Right.
a spill, but for what does a TMDL mean for the community? What does nutrient regulations mean for the, help develop outreach material that can be used by the, that to me seems like a good
Okay.
role for the COG relative to water quality management.
Understand.
Basically duplicate the role that the MPO does on the air side
Okay.
for outreach and education.
Okay.
Just a thought.
It's in my work plan for the coming year.
Because I
Do
think
that.
as a group, you take on too much ownership when you dig into a specific issue.
Okay.
You gotta let you guys fight your own fights to a certain degree. I mean, you know.
Well, we wouldn't mind everybody standing in the background cheering, but,
Well, would our role have been more, what led up to this, rather than dealing with the actual contamination, you know? I mean, what,
we're too close to say that because we have to deal with the individual contamination. What led up to this was 35 years of use.
Trying to measure not knowing at that point, yeah.
Tell them it's a health advisory when they lower the factor, what Mike said by.
By exponentially, yeah. I mean, and what's a health advisory versus an MCL? You know, the public doesn't know.
Been better off with an MCL.
An MCL,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think with bed, having worked in remediation before coming here, if it's above detection, it's bad. If it's a bad thing and you detect it, it's bad. That's what the
And
public.
that's just exactly the problem. The fact that when it was 400 parts per trillion and all of our wellheads were producing less than that,
Right. It was good.
we were completely in compliance and didn't have to issue a health advisory. When it went to 70 parts per trillion and 3 different trace contaminants were summed to fall under 70, well, then it shot all of our wells out of the water, so to speak.
Okay.
I think that someday it'll become a stream standard,
And that's the
wastewater
rule.
facilities.
And that will be the role.
That'll be the next thing. Because they have contacted us. Shortly after this all started, I got a call from Nicole Rowan who said they were sampling the stream and, oh my God, guess what? We detected it below your Las Vegas facility, but not above. And this was before anybody even talked about Peterson. And so, I mean, you know exactly what they were looking at. They wanted to blame it on a wastewater facility, and it was going to be ours. And it's going to be found in every urban stream. I mean, it's out there. It's in the creek. It's not. It's in every wastewater plant.
It's in every one of our bodies.
It's in our bodies. So I think it's going to be like nonylphenol. It'll be the next new. There will be a stream standard for it, but to probably protect them from large supply. The classification, unless there's an aquatic life.
Well, and the other thing that they keep bringing up, that there is no real body of data,
Yeah.
is what it does to agricultural uptake. Yeah. Nobody knows, but they're not selling pumpkins at Venatucci.
That's bad. I get
The Hill
those
guy spoke
calls.
for that one.
Well, that's true.
And then also this week with the PFCs, I don't know if you guys saw, FDA now has taken out the allowance for PFC as an ingredient for wrappers within food wrappers. They've taken that out. Did you see that? I should shoot that out to the group.
Yeah, but that'll take about how many years to finally phase out?
Well, no, I'm just saying there's
Yeah.
there's movement on this item in other areas as well. As a result, it's kind of radiating out.
Stain resistant. Flame retardant clothing.
Yeah.
All your carpet.
Yeah. Well, it was PBTs 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Polybrominated biphenyls, which was a anti-flame retardant in baby clothes, PBTs.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, related to this, and I think this was getting to your point, I think it was Mike who made this. It's in my departments, which means my work plan for the coming year, to develop an environmental information portal for PPACG. And I would like that to put out information concerning the issues that this group addresses. And I think with regard to new and emerging and highly contentious issues such as PFCs, that I develop that, I will mostly, either entirely, provide a link to, say, the county's website, and perhaps if I think it's relevant, add some very focused supplemental information, like one-pagers, three-pagers, tech reports, so that the public knows that PPACG has some institutional knowledge of this. Because we're getting phone calls, not a lot, but maybe one a month. And it would be good for PPACG just to have its finger on that pulse. Not to steal anybody's thunder or to put out any different information. I have no information. Any information I will get is yours. But rather to channel people to the appropriate venues, such as the county or municipalities. So, but as I develop this, I'm going to, next year, in the first months of the year, I'm going to be asking for input and advice. And probably the way I'll proceed, I'm going to have a live website and then a website that's sort of intraweb. It won't be published, but I'll give people access to help me. Say, hey, I want to put this out there. Can you folks take a look at it and give me your thoughts? Is there anything here that, should be included that that shouldn't be there, et cetera, et cetera. So that's coming in 2017. So any more on this PFC issue before we, any more thoughts? Not today. You're thinking of Turkey. Do I still have the chair? Still have the floor, Madam Chair?
Yes.
I still have the floor. I'm picking on Bethany. She just helps me out a lot. Okay, so we did everything. Items for the next meeting. I'll send out an email, and I'm going to request, okay, let's have a meeting in January, and I'll prepare some minutes from this meeting, and I want to recycle these. I think we'll have a larger attendance, and we'll be able to focus a little more on a couple of these items. And if
Election of officers on.
Election of officers, yes,
Attendance.
yes. So,
Do we have, and maybe I'm just not aware, does this meeting always fall on the same, third?
Used to be the
So
fourth
it's-
Monday, wasn't it? Fourth Tuesday.
So this is, so I can do a save,
please.
recurring event in my calendar, the fourth?
When it happens. I have a feeling that we don't have applications that are driving this anymore. So we'll meet in January and from there decide, well, I guess if we're going to review potentially revise the 208 plan,
Yeah,
that might push us. But I was thinking we would meet every other month. But I think if we're going to get into the 208 plan, that we might meet every month. And I want to keep it at the same bet channel, same bet time,
Fourth
same bet
Tuesday?
place. Yes,
It's easier for me to cancel it than to,
yes.
okay.
Just to keep it on everybody's calendar, so that was a long answer. I apologize for that.
Right, you saw.
So, what else? Any thoughts or questions?
No?
Yes.
92 on the extra.
Any member announcements, anything, any dog and pony shows? Anybody have anything to say?
Are you going to keep the bylaws on for next month, too?
Yes, I'm going to recycle this agenda, except
The whole thing, okay.
yeah, I'm going to take out,
PFC.
I think I'm going to take that out. There's enough.
Private first class.
So, for my part, you're going to do the adjournment, but I want to, because you've got the plunger. I want to thank you all for coming and taking the time, and please drive carefully. Wish you all the best this Thanksgiving.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
The motion approved.
Roll call. Roll call.
You didn't take the vote. I think they're voting with their feet.
Aye.
It's just that they
Yes.
lowered
Thank
We're going to get you a plunger.
the stern level, and that's when it became an issue.
Yeah, it was part of the unregulated
Thanks, Johnny.
contaminants 3.
Have a good holiday.